Afternoon everybody, Rich here, back for another video for the Diecast F1 review. Here today is the Ferrari F399 for the 1999 Formula 1 World Championship, and in the car is Eddie Irvine. Now the Ferrari of 1999 started the season as pretty much the second best car by a long way. The McLaren was still very much the best car going into the season, or going into the first round at least. At the start of the first round, both McLarens just ran away and left the rest of the field for dead. For a little while at least, as the both McLarens succumbed to mechanical gremlins. But it was sort of the beginning of what was to be a pretty topsy-turvy season. Eddie Irvine came out on top in the first round, winning his first race, and cementing what was to be a pretty topsy-turvy season. Schumacher, on the other hand, had his problems, stalling on the dummy grid and then suffering a puncture, so twice in the race he had to fight back from the back of the grid. But going into round two, the season sort of petered out into what was to be normal, into a relatively normal race, with Häkkinen winning and Schumacher picking up second place. Round three, things took a slight difference, with Häkkinen crashing out, uncharacteristically, but it was sort of to be a normal thing throughout 1999. He was either winning or crashing, which is sort of a repeat of Jacques Villeneuve in 1997. It was one of those seasons where I don't think anyone really deserved the championship. It was too inconsistent, and it's kind of what 2010 turned out to be as well. As there was a lot of people fighting for the championship, but there was no clear person who deserved it really. But yeah, it was a pretty, like I said, a topsy-turvy season. But yeah, in round three, Häkkinen crashed out and Schumacher took his first win of the season, and then followed that up by another win in Monaco. So that was 2 on the trot for Ferrari there, or 3 wins out of 4 races for Ferrari. Back to normality in Spain with a McLaren 1-2, and then another McLaren win in Canada with Schumacher crashing out while leading. But yeah, it's one of Schumacher's allowances for the year, his one mistake of the year. France, it was sort of team orders played everything there, but at Silverstone things took a serious nosedive for Ferrari. Schumacher crashed on the first start at Silverstone and broke his leg, and that was pretty much his season done. He was out for 6 races, and Irvine had to step up to, well, number 1 basically. The car was continuously updated, and the first race after Schumacher's absence, the car was a winner. But it was another one of those races where it should have been McLaren, but mistakes cost them all their way, and Ferrari came out on top in Austria. Sort of the same in Germany as well, but it was a Ferrari 1-2 there, and once again McLaren again let it down. But the Ferrari overall was an improvement over the 98 car, but it should have been a Schumacher season in my opinion, because Irvine, although a good driver he was too much of an arsehole, I think, to be as good as Schumacher. He's too slow in some races, especially at Monza, where he just poodled around in 5th, 6th place. And also at the Nürburgring as well, where the championship really was up for grabs, and he just fell off the pace and finished 7th in the end. It was, like I said, one of those seasons where nobody really deserved the championship. Häkkinen did his best though. He did everything right when he did do it right. I mean, he stayed on the track and won races when he needed to, and also fell off the track a couple of times. Also, Coulthard wasn't exactly brilliant either in the other McLaren. He's knocking his teammate twice, I think, during the season. But I've already done reviews of other 99 cars. I think I've done the Jordan a few months ago, and I think that was it actually. I think I've only done the Jordan, but there we go. But yeah, the Ferrari F399, although an improvement over the previous year's car and continuously improved, had its faults as well. In the Malaysian Grand Prix, the Ferraris finished 1-2, with Schumacher letting Irvine take the victory, but then were disqualified after the race for an infringement over, I think it was the barge boards being slightly too small or something. I don't know, but they were eventually reinstated, and the championship went down to the wire, which Häkkinen won anyway. Just zoom in on the box a second, just to get a better look at the car in the box. So we have a reflection of the tripod there, which is a bit annoying. So we have a look around the car. Yeah, I'm trying to get a decent view here, but there we go, it's a better one. But yeah, it was one of those seasons where it should have been Schumacher's, but it was Häkkinen's, and Irvine was, yeah, he was either useless or brilliant. But if you ever watched that interview he did on Sky Sports F1 with Steve Ryder, I think it was F1 Legends, Irvine really showed he really is an arsehole. I mean, the way he talks, just goes to show that he thinks he's better than everyone else. He seems to think that he is the best person on the track, and the other drivers are just slightly, Schumacher was only slightly better than him, but I think that's proved otherwise. I mean, Irvine, once he went to Jaguar, it sort of showed he couldn't really get on with a bad car, and even a good car, he wasn't all that good. But that's sort of my rant for the time. But it really does show he's an arrogant person and not really someone I would get on with, I don't think. But that's just my 5 cents anyway. Anyway, onto the model itself. It's a Mattel model, and it's probably one of the worst Mattel models. I'll say one of the worst. It's not overly bad. I mean, it's not as bad as the McLaren MP422 from 2007, which Mattel sort of rushed to get into production. This is sort of in the same league, but not quite as bad. It's mainly the box that lets it down. I mean, the box is paper thin. If I just lift up the camera here, so if you look at the box, you can see the box has collapsed. I mean, I've not had anything on top of this, but the box has sort of sunk a bit, because the box itself is paper thin, and it really has let it down. But we'll look around the box anyway. It's one of the early Mattel models, of course, so the boxes are actually in identity with the car itself. So we've got a Ferrari badge on the box, the red around the edge, the Italian flag down here, and then we've got a big Ferrari badge and checkers on the side there, a load of gumph on the back, and Eddie Irvine's ugly mug on the side there. Oh, a price tag as well. How much was this? $39.99. I did not pay that for this. And then back around this side as well. So we've got the Ferrari F399 up on the top there, and Irvine's ugly mug again, and then a quick look over the top of the car in the box. And there we go, that's that. So what I'm going to do now is to do a quick jump cut while I take the box out the car, and then we can have a look at it properly. So back at them out. Okay, back again. Now here's the car in all its glory, and you can see it out the box. And it's not, I did say at the beginning it was a bit of a shit model, but it's not as bad as I was making it really. It is pretty poor in comparison to some of the later models, but overall it's not too bad. I mean, the red paint really does glisten quite nicely on this thing, but I'll get to the paint in a bit. We get to look around some of the other details. I mean, we'll look at the flaws first. I mean, the front suspension on this car is a bit slightly out of a line, because the front wheels don't quite line up together. The front steering is a bit loose, as you can see. The front wheels are a bit wibbly, and the track rod is a bit flexy as well, which is a little bit of a letdown, because when the car sits flat, the wheels, although you got a position right, do sit straight, but when you lift it up the car, the wheels do flap about a bit. So that's one of the issues with that thing. And also the driver's helmet as well. It's not as evident on this model as it is on the Schumacher model. The helmet design, or the helmet shape on the Schumacher version is pretty awful. I mean, it's over-exaggerated. I mean, Schumacher had a different shape. He had an aerofoil on the back of his helmet, which gave that sort of a signature shape to the helmet, but when Mattel recreated that, it just sort of looked very what's the word? Exaggerated, if you like. It's just it looked out of proportions. It looked too big, and the painting on it looked a bit well, shit, to be honest. But there we go. But overall, it's it's not too bad. I mean, there are better models, but well, I say there are a lot of better models, but this ain't as bad as I thought. Because I've not had it out the box for about 8-9 years, so it's growing on me a bit more. But onto the paint itself. I mean, the paint application, well, the paint application is fine, but the shade of red really does stand out on this model. I think later models, or at least I can prove later models, the Ferrari red was toned down a bit on the Mattel models. If you look at this red, it's a very deep red. It's not really shown up too well on the camera because of the I've got a light behind me which is sort of shining directly onto it, but the Ferrari red is different. If I bring in the 2000 car, you can see it's more of a lighter pinky red, and actually the dust doesn't help either, but it's a different shade of red completely. This is the 2000 car, by the way. So the shade of red is slightly lighter, but it doesn't make it look so blood red or metallic-y red. Also, it needs a good clean as well. This isn't exactly one of my collection models. This is just a spare, which will be sold or broken up into spare parts later on. But anyway, back onto the 99 car. Like I said, the paint is stunning, and I really do like it. I nearly broke the rear wing there, but have a look around the car. It is not a bad representation. It's not as good as the Mattel 98 car, which I have reviewed before, so don't get your hopes up too much, but the shaping of it is quite nice as well. You've got the shaping of the side pods here, the bulging side pods, and you can see them quite nicely sculpted there. And also you've got the painted silver exhaust exits up here. There's no exhaust pipes in the sockets itself. It's just moulded plastic into the shape of the exhaust duct, so there's no exhaust pipes in there. So that's one of the letdowns, but no big issue. I will get onto the 2009 Ferrari one day as well, and you see how bad Mattel really did get with their cars. But there we go. The wheels on the car, Bridgestone tyres, of course. Only one side have the Mattel, have the Bridgestone branding on, rather, not the Mattel, the Bridgestone. So it's early in the Bridgestone career, so no decals on the inside tyre. Front of the side pods, quite nicely sculpted there. Quite big join gaps in the plastic, in the metal as well. You can see the join gap there is quite big. We've got another one around the around the engine cover as well. As you can see, there's big join gaps there. Also, you've got the opening fuel flaps as well, which is one of the pointless features of these models as well. I never really understood why they did this. We never had a proper pit stop diorama with these cars, so can't really open it actually. Oh well, never mind. So yeah, never had any proper dioramas for these things. Fuel hoses and mechanics with the wrenches. You know what do they call them? The air guns for the wheels. So you never had those with these models, so it sort of made the fuel flaps kind of pointless. But hey ho, there we go. But overall, looking at it, it's not too bad. It's just when you get down to the nitty gritties, you sort of see the issues with the car. It's a very quite a cheap model nowadays. I mean, the Schumacher one tends to go for a bit more, but the Irvine one, I think I paid about £15 for this one, and I thought that was quite a good price. And it's also quite a good blank canvas as well. I mean, if you're quite into updating cars with tobacco advertising, this is probably the best one to go for, because it is an absolute blank canvas. There's no white squares or anything you have to peel off or anything. You just stick the decal straight on the bodywork and it should look quite fine. I mean, the top of the chassis, you got nothing there. Of course, you got no white square there. Also, the rear wing's blank, and you got no white squares around the cockpit either, or on the driver's body. So yeah, it's a blank canvas, so you can go straight on and add decals to this thing if you want to. You increase the value slightly. So that's something that something for the future. I often thought about doing it myself, but you know, I'm not very good at that sort of thing, so I thought I'd leave it bare, because why not? I like the Ferrari red anyway. The red on this car really does look stunning, and I think I'd spoil it if I put the decals on, especially if I fucked it up. You know, I'd probably ruin it twice as much. But there we go. And another thing that I have noticed on this model, if I zoom in over the nose, is they've actually added rivet details to this car. They've actually added rivets, only to the nose though, which is a shame. But this is something they could have added to the '09 car. I've got that model up there on the shelf somewhere. I'll point it out later on. That is one of the worst Mattel models. But they've added rivets to the top of the chassis there for the nose. They haven't added to the side though, which is a shame. But there we go. And also, it's a V-shaped front wing as well. A very subtle V-shape to the front wing. As you can see there, the point there, so it's V-shaped. But here you go. Let's have a look over the car. There's no dust on this car because I've not had it out the box for about 8-9 years, so it's just stood up quite nicely. Dust free. I mean, compared to the 2000 car that I've got here, it's completely caked in dust. But here we go. We'll do a review of the 2000 car, but not today. So I'll zoom out again, have a look at this car in all its glory. Try and get the camera angle right. There we go. And yeah, I will recommend this car. I mean, if you're an avid Ferrari collector, then by all means. If you're like me, an avid Formula 1 collector, then by all means collect it. I mean, it is one to have. I mean, the box, when it's on display in its box, the box does let it down a bit because it's cheaply made and it does collapse a bit. But you know, if you're comparing it to the other Mattel models, but it's early in Mattel's history, so, or Formula 1 history, so let them off for that one. If I was you, I'd probably get an acrylic box and put it in that just to make it display better. But yeah, it's the box does let it down. The model itself, it has its issues, like I pointed out. I mean, the front suspension is a bit shit, and the driver's helmet on this one isn't too bad, but on the Schumacher one it is quite out of proportions. And there are a few other niggles as well, but overall's not too bad. So compared to the '09 Ferrari, which I will point out a second, I'm going to zoom out and zoom up to. I have the '09 Ferrari in this box here, and that is one of the worst Mattel or Mattel models all round. I mean, the amount of detail they missed out on that model, we just zoom back down here. So the amount of detail they missed out, I've already pointed out the exhaust pipes on this car, but on that car up there they just painted the whole socket black and didn't even put the exhaust pipes in, so I will get to that one later on. Not today though. But yeah, price rise for this car, I did mention I paid £15 for this one, and I think that's pretty good for the model of this age and of this quality as well. Considering that Formula 1 models now sort of reaching the £200 price mark, which is fucking ridiculous. And I will say that every video until Mattel, or not Mattel, but Minichamps and that bring their prices down. I mean, take a book, a note out of Barago's book and make your models a bit cheaper so we can buy them. Rant over. Right. Anyway, we'll do another quick look around the car. I didn't do a proper skate around it, so I'll have a look on the underside. So we've got the diffuser here, or the diffuser here anyway. Got the plank in its usual Mattel cream colour, which is a bit odd, but there we go. Got the Mattel brand up there. We've got all that there. Around the back here, so we look around through the rear of the bodywork, or through the rear wing. Not badly sculpted there. Because I do like the tops of the chassis here, or the tops of the side pods. They are quite nicely sculpted and nicely moulded. So the exhaust pipes do let it down, but that's only a little issue. And then, excuse me, we'll have a look around this way into the cockpit. We do have some buttons on the steering wheel. If I can just zoom in, and there we go. We've got the detail on the steering wheel there. So there's a bit of detail there. The driver figure is, although detailed, is pretty basic, but no big issue. I mean, for the price, you ain't going to complain. But overall, it's not a bad car. And I was bashing it at the beginning, but I have to say, it's not bad. It has its issues, like every model. I mean, there are some up on the show, like I pointed out, that 2009 Ferrari. It's a bit of a dog, but I say every model has its low points. But overall, it's not too bad. We'll turn it back round again because I like it at this angle, or this angle rather, with the light shining on it. And that's pretty much my rant for this car. But yeah, it's definitely one I'd recommend. If you can pick it up cheaply, then you're doing alright, because it's not overly rare, but it doesn't come up on eBay all that often. It's usually the Irvine version that does. Avoid the buy it now prices, because they're just dealers trying to rip you off. If you can see this at a bidding price, you know, sort of £10 upwards, you're not doing too bad. But yeah, it's hard to come by, but it's not overly rare, if you know what I mean. There's usually a limited number on the box, but not written on this box. I don't know how many of this one were actually made. Probably around 10,000 probably were made, but I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, this is Rich signing off, logging off and disappearing, and I shall return with another review. So bye for now.